Thank you, Senator Patrick. Senator Sterle.
Thanks, Chair. Could I ask, welcome anyway, officials, can I ask please Ms Dean come to the table? So while Ms Dean's getting herself settled in, Mr Kinley, I don't intend to rant and rave all night. I just want to ask a series of questions. I want to get direct answers. I don't want to go off on side tangents. I'm not here to have a blue tonight. My feelings are pretty well known. And that way then we can wrap it up and then we can contemplate over the next few weeks where we see that we might progress, okay? Thank you. So Ms Dean, may I ask how long you've worked at AMSA?
15 years, Senator.
15 years.
Sorry, could we just have your
Just
name
need
and
to
position for the record?
Apologies, Mary Dean, National Manager Compliance Strategy at AMSA.
Thank you very much.
Can you tell us what roles you have performed in those 15 years?
Yes, Senator. I started in AMSA's Office of Legal Counsel, where I remained until 2017, and now I hold this position of National Manager Compliance Strategy.
Right, thank you. So you have a background in law?
Yes, Senator.
Could you tell us what background that is, please?
I'm registered as a solicitor in the Australian Capital Territory.
Solicitor.
And have been since 2003.
Thank you. Have you worked on criminal matters?
In what sense,
I mean,
Senator?
or have you been responsible for compiling a brief of evidence? That's what I'm leading to.
AMSA activities does involve the preparation of briefs of evidence, and in my roles in various capacities in the Office of Legal Counsel, I have worked on.
And you have prepared briefs?
I have not prepared briefs of evidence.
Okay.
They're prepared by other areas.
Sure. So if I ask a question, we just be direct, and then I'm going to let you, the sooner we answer, the sooner I'll let you go. Okay. I don't want to go around. Okay. So we've established you haven't compiled any briefs of evidence. Have you prosecuted matters in a court of law?
No, Senator.
Okay. Can you tell us what your involvement in the dolphin dive death matter was, please?
Yes, Senator. I became involved in that matter on the 23rd of December 2014 when AMSA was given notice that it was to respond to a federal court matter in which the applicant was seeking to have a stay of various decisions that had been made whilst they made a formal application for judicial review of those decisions.
Okay. Could you tell us who decided not to continue with pursuing the show cause notice against Mr Lippiatt and his company?
Yes, Senator, that was Mr Keith Brightman.
Mr Keith...
Brightman?
Brightman.
Brightman.
Brightman, sorry.
His name has come up.
Sorry, he's still around, isn't he?
No, Senator.
No, he's not
longer
around.
Works for AMSA.
So it was... Okay, thank you.
We
Sorry?
we have a question on notice about his finishing with us.
All right. So it was his decision?
Yes, Senator.
Okay. Could you tell us what advice you gave or on whose advice you were told not to pursue it and why? Was it just purely Mr Brightman? Anyone else?
I'm sorry, Senator, I didn't hear your question.
Oh, sure. So was it only Mr Brightman's advice that you were told not to pursue the show cause?
Yes, Senator.
No one else?
No, Senator.
Okay, thanks. Did you review the evidence or brief of evidence for offences being considered to prosecute Mr Lippiatt and Dolphin Dive?
No, Senator.
You weren't? Who did?
That review of the various matters with regard to the investigation were undertaken by the compliance staff that AMSA had at that time.
And those names are, I'll probably go to anyone else along the table to tell me if you can't.
So that's probably a question best directed to Mr Marsh, Senator.
Sure, Mr Marsh could come to the table. But if you can answer, Ms Dean, feel free. I'm just trying to make it easier for you.
Thank you, Senator. So as we discussed, David Marsh, Manager of Enforcement Inspector Support at AMSA. As discussed on Monday, those that were reviewing the investigation and production of the brief of evidence were myself, Mr Phil Jones-Hope and Ms Mandy Nixon.
That's right, we did ask that, just checking. Good. Can you tell us what those offences were? Just reiterate.
Yes, I can. So there's a number of offences. The offences raised by the Western Australian Department of Transport were general safety duties in relation to the master and a breach of a condition of the certificate of operation in relation to the owner.
Sure.
The offences from the Western Australian Police Force were in relation to two general safety duty offences, one relating to the headcount issue and one relating to the induction of the deckhand.
Okay, thank you. So we've established that Mr Brightman was the one. We asked that the other day, but Mr Brightman didn't own up, did he? If I remember rightly.
Senator,
So what was he there?
Senator, Mr Brightman was the one who recommended to West Australia that they withdraw the show cause
Yeah.
notice.
But there also, but it was also Mr Brightman that said to the team working on this that there will be no prosecution. To withdraw.
No, Senator, that's not correct.
Well, when I asked, okay, well, we better find out who, because I asked who decided not to continue pursuing the show cause against Mr Lippett. You said it was Keith Brightman.
Senator, sorry, the show cause was an administrative matter,
Yeah,
which was totally separate to the
I understand.
prosecution matter.
No, I understand, Mr Kinley, but I'm sorry, I thought I'd made it clear. Okay, I should have made it clear. On the show cause, that wasn't Mr Brightman.
Yes, that was
It
Mr
was Mr.
Brightman who
Brightman.
recommended to West Australia that they withdraw
Yep.
it.
But on the death, the death inquiry, who was the one that decided not to prosecute?
And Mr Marsh can best answer the...
Okay, all right. And I'm trying not to get, this is where I get, because we've got to remember there was two things going on. So come back to the death of Mr Mills.
So I made the operational decision in relation to the the WA police matter, and also in relation to the WA Department of Transport matter. That was briefed up from myself up through my manager and to whoever he went after that.
And you made that decision based on what?
Well, I made the operational decision based on the WA Police report, as discussed the other day, in relation to the headcount. So beyond the issue of evidence beyond reasonable doubt in relation to the headcount issue and in relation to the induction of the crew member, again, my call, that was, we could have issued an infringement notice in relation to that, and that was where I made the call that that wasn't sufficient given the circumstance. And also so my call was to concentrate on the the matters raised by WADOT, the fraudulent matters, and after those meetings with the CDPP, written advice, I briefed up through my manager.
So you made the decision not to prosecute on the headcount, on the death?
Yes.
And Miss Dean, you were instructed by Mr Brightman not to continue on the show cause, is that right?
Senator, I was instructed that Mr Brightman was going to recommend to Western Australia that
This is still on the death.
No, that they withdraw the show cause notice.
Okay, so it was show cause. Right. So can you show us where your record that led to that decision? Is there a record you could provide to us?
Of Mr Brightman's decision?
Yes.
The email that we've discussed previously, Senator.
So have you provided that? Did you take that on notice, or are you still waiting for that, Mr Kinley?
I think it's certainly in the documents that have been requested.
Okay, and yours, Mr Marsh, have we got the record, whatever proof of record?
Yes, that's part of the thing that's been requested.
Okay,
Yes.
so we're still waiting for that?
Yes.
Okay. So am I right to say that according to the AGIS, which off the top of my head, the Australian Government Investigative, what's the S stand for? Standard, right. You've got to record such decisions, that's correct?
That's correct.
That's correct, Ms Dean?
Sorry, report the
So
decisions to...
as per the Australian Government Inspection, what's the S?
Australian Government Investigation Standard.
Investigation standard. Sorry, you have to record the decisions. That's correct, to the best of your knowledge?
About investigations. That's... I don't know the answer to that.
Okay,
Senator.
that's right. It's not a jailable offence. Okay, well then I'd probably ask whoever wants to answer this that we up here know the AGIS is a cornerstone of the Australian Government's fraud control policy and is the minimum standard for agencies conducting investigations relating to the programs and legislation they administer. the AGIS is mandatory for all agencies required to comply with the Financial Management and Accountability Act of 1997. Am I on the right track? Anyone got a drum with that?
That's not.
Council, the Financial Management and Accountability Act no longer exists. I anticipate the standard that you talk about has probably been picked up under the PGPA Act.
Say that again.
The
Sorry?
Financial Management and Accountability Act
Yep.
and the CAC Act were superseded by the PGPA Act
When was that?
about 3 years ago, I think.
Okay, but is the same requirement in the PGA Act?
I'm not sure, Senator. I'll have to check.
Okay, well then,
Senator, we can certainly
yep,
confirm
follow that one
for
down.
you. Yeah.
Thanks, okay.